Hi, I'm Andre and I'm a black nerd with a review for you better reviews. Yes, I get to talk about a rated R movie. Sorry, ponies. Sorry, emojis. It's time to talk about some adult stuff. Like replicants in a future space that, okay, what's the difference? Blade Runner 2049. I'm gonna give you the good, I'm gonna give you the bad, I'm gonna give you the nerdy. And I'm gonna keep this review as spoiler free as possible. There's a lot of stuff I'm not gonna be able to talk about. I may actually have to do a spoilers review. I can't get into the specific details. There was a lot of stuff I didn't know going in that I don't wanna spoil for you. So therefore, spoiler free. If you want to spoil this review, let me know. So Blade Runner 2049 is the long overdue sequel to the original Blade Runner, which I had already talked about in a previous video. I did not grow up with Blade Runner, so I actually watched it recently, made a video talking about how I watched it for the first time. Then that got me pumped to go see this movie to see what it's all about. Also, it was interesting to see all the glowing reviews of this movie. It's really high on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics are saying it's a cinematic masterpiece, the greatest movie of all time. You haven't seen movies until you've seen Blade Runner 2049. First off, this movie is visually stunning. It is so beautiful. Every single shot in this movie feels like a work of art. It is just so well done. It found the proper blend of using today's technology without going too crazy with it. It never feels too fake, because the things that look like they're supposed to be fake, that look like they're supposed to be holograms or CG or something like that, feel that way. It's just that it was very, very impressive. I cannot stress enough how gorgeous this movie looks. This is definitely one of those types of movies, if you're having a dinner party or having some friends over and you just need something in the background for ambiance, this movie is that. Props to all the performances in this movie, Ryan Gosling especially, because you pretty much spend the entire movie with him. Like, you might have seen the trailers and seen some other people floating around. Bautista, small scene. Robin Wright, couple of scenes. Harrison Ford, you'll be waiting for him. Jared Leto had most of his scenes cut from Suicide Squad, and even the scenes that got left in Suicide Squad may be more scenes than what he has in this movie. But they all do good work. Even if someone is in here on a small scale, they do really good performances, but Ryan Gosling does really great, and there's something particularly about his character that I can't say. There's things you learn about him right away. There's things you learn about him throughout the course of the movie, and it all makes sense in the context of the story, and it all makes sense in his performance. There's a couple of performances I absolutely loved in this movie. I hope I get her name right. Ana de Armas, she plays Joi, another character I can't really tell you too much about. She is a very, very interesting character. And what's funny is she's in this movie kind of to play more for a sympathetic side for Ryan Gosling's character, but in turn, I think I felt more sympathy for her character. Like, if they were ever to make a stories of Blade Runner universe of just like singular movies that happen in this world, her story could have honestly been its own movie. There's something you learn about her background, about others who may be like her, that you're just like, this is a very interesting tale, and I'm more interested in her than her purpose of being there for Ryan Gosling's character. Just saying. Don't know if that was the intent, but that's what I felt. There's also this character, Love. Oh my God. So she plays the assistant to Wallace, who is Jared Leto's character. And at first you're thinking like, oh, she's the assistant. But then, man, there's scenes when she shows up where you're just like, oh my gosh, Love is a badass. I just think she's gonna be like, oh, let me take you to see Mr. Wallace. And she's like, no, I run things. I run this. While Wallace is kind of in his chamber, staying in his one spot where he films all his scenes, Love is going around doing stuff. She's taking care of business. Sylvia Hoeks, I think is her name. No relation to Ren. That was terrible. But I really liked her character. Her and Joi and Love, just made me really happy. Okay, that was an interesting thing to say. Oh, and Joi, just so you know, was spelled J-O-I. So Curious Joi, I got some questions to ask you later. Are you real? The music in this movie completely sucks you in. It's a lot of it's like an upgraded version of the music that you heard from the original, so I thought that was cool. Sometimes it gets a little too loud. There's a little bit of that. You're just like, dang, is that the movie or a car alarm? Like, what is going on? Is it a fire start? Oh, it's just the movie sound. Okay. But it still at least puts you in the moment. I got to give this movie some nerd points. Since the original was put out in the 80s, they decided to have some 80s properties that were big then that may not be as big now or maybe gone now still be prevalent in 2049. Like, there's a scene in this movie where there's a giant Atari logo. So apparently Atari is going to make a comeback. They are making a new console. So this could be a sign of the future. 2049, Nintendo, PlayStation gone, Atari returns to reign supreme. Oh, and here's something interesting I didn't know about the movie. Apparently it's not just a Warner Brothers movie, it's a Warner Brothers and Sony movie. So way to go, Sony, attaching yourself to two of the biggest movies this year by having it made by other studios. You had Spider-Man Homecoming with Disney Marvel, and now you got this movie with Warner Brothers. Sony is becoming the Mario and Sonic of the Olympic Games of movie studios. Sure enough, like all Sony movies do, it finds a way to stick that logo somewhere in the movie. There's all these lights like Coca-Cola, Atari, a giant hologram ballet dancer floating in the sky, and then this one building had to fly out. Sony! God dang it, Sony, you just cannot help yourself to put your name as product placement in your movies. Warner Brothers didn't have the Warner Brothers logo pop out of a building. They didn't have Batman or Freddy Krueger or the Suicide Squad popping out of the buildings in this movie. They're saving that for Ready Player One. Something happens in this movie, again, something I can't say, something that happens that really should not actually happen even in this futuristic fantasy world, and once known, could cause a whole shift in the power between humans and replicants. So, there you go. Was that cryptic enough for you? Because that's how this movie's gonna be for a good 3 hours. Let me just say, if these trailers give you any indication that this is an action movie, it is not, okay? It is a mystery movie, it is a detective story, it's a cop drama set in a sci-fi world. There's a lot of talking, there's a lot of looking at clues, there's a lot of backtracking and flashbacking. Even the original movie, I think, had more action than this movie did, and that movie does not have a lot of action. So let me just make that very clear for you walk in this theater thinking you about to see some blow-em-ups. It's pretty chill with the action. There's even a part of the movie where I was like, the movie is starting to rev up a little bit, the music's starting to rev up a little bit, and I see like a car moving a little bit faster. I was like, oh, here goes the action. Oh, it's already over. It's done. Okay, back to talking. Yes, this movie is not trying to be like your typical mainstream blockbuster. It's not getting super indulgent in explosions and car chases or the type of stuff that we usually see in these movies. But it's so well made, man. It's directed very well. The performances are great. The music is good and intense. The movie is intense. It really sucks you in. It's really, really good. So it's gonna be really tough to say the following things I'm about to say. I could have walked out of this movie going, hey, this is a decent movie. I think for some people it may not be their cup of tea, but for others, they will be entertained. But then, like I said, you get these critics or you get these people coming out going, Blade Runner 2049 is the greatest film, the cinematic masterpiece, the greatest movie of all time. This is how mainstream films should be. Blade Runner 2049 does not fall into the usual sci-fi and movie tropes except for the numerous times that we fall into sci-fi and movie tropes. We need movies like this, entertaining mainstream films that make you think with your mind, that are deep and complex and blah-de-blah-de-blah. Blade Runner 2049. And that's where I have to say, slow your roll a bit. Look, I like this movie. I think it's a really good movie, but for the people that are acting like this is the second coming of Jesus of movies, I gotta break it down for you. First off, too long. Seriously. As much as I like what this movie is doing, it took its damn time. It is not Blade Runner 2049. It is Blade slow-paced walking 2049 hours. And the thing about it is there's a lot of stuff in here that I wouldn't even say take out. I would just say shorten. There's just scenes where they just keep on a shot for so long when you're just like, I get it, you can move on. And it just gets to a certain point where you just start to feel it. This movie is like a delicious chocolate cake. Like, it is really, really good. It's rich. You eat a few slices because you're like, I'm a little bit extra hungry, and you loving it and you feel comfortable, but you just love the taste so much. You just got to keep eating that cake and eating that cake. And before you know it, you ate the whole cake, and now your stomach hurts a little bit because you had a little bit too much cake. This movie is too much cake. I don't even mind movies that are long, but when you start seeing scenes or parts of the movie that you feel like could have been expressed the same way but a little bit shorter, it just starts to feel like it's more indulgent of itself. It's about as indulgent as a guy going on YouTube and making like a 20-minute review talking about this movie, which that would be ridiculous if somebody was that indulgent. I'm sorry, some people fell asleep in my screening. I heard some snores. I'm not saying that that's negative against this movie because I really enjoyed it. But I kind of feel like you probably could have made a shorter version of this movie and then pleased the fanboys with a 3 hours director's cut when it came out on DVD, which I think would make sense because Blade Runner is used to having multiple cuts of its films. This movie is so deep, it's so complex, it's so deep. It's not really that deep, y'all. It's a very intriguing story, and it's definitely a mystery that you'll have to figure out all the different clues. And the story that it's telling is a very interesting story about if there's certain things that humans or replicants can or can't do, what then makes them systematically different if one is flesh and blood and the other is synthetic man-made material. Like, it's a really intriguing story in that sense. But as far as it getting like super complex and deep, it's a lot of cryptic, philosophical discussions and monologues to basically hit on the tones of slavery and prejudice. Should individuals with different backgrounds as other individuals be treated differently in society? Wow, really blowing up a concept there, Blade Runner 2049. I have never heard of any conversation in my lifetime where someone was talking about if certain individuals should be treated differently from other individuals just because they have a different background or there's something different about them. Whoa! Whoa, should certain individuals be slaves to others just because of their background? Whoa, Blade Runner 2049. Whoa, hold on, I don't know if I can keep up with this. You are seriously, I don't know if the world's ready for you. This is just too deep. I don't know, maybe if you're the certain target demographic for this type of movie, you may not been akin to this type of thing to be looking at it and going, oh, this is different because it involves humans and replicants versus, you know, people. But for me, I was just like, yeah, duh. I'm sure if you go watch some old Star Treks, you'll probably hear these same type of discussions done in different ways. Blade Runner 2049, beautiful movie, compelling story, but not bring anything new to the table as far as philosophy or sociology is concerned. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. You might feel differently because you may have lived a different life than me. Also, can't be walking around this high and mighty, some individuals should not be treated the same way as other individuals when your movie, even with replicants, still seems to have not that many black people in it. I think I counted 2. I'm really concerned about the future. Don't think a lot of us survived. They keep talking about this thing that happened called the blackout, and they keep saying it's lights going out, but I'm thinking the blackout might have been something else. There might have been another blackout that happened. As in, you black, out. But that being said, the story that it is telling is still an interesting story. I'm joking around, but I did enjoy it. It is absolutely impressive. It's a really well-made film, and I really was entranced by the story. And I think if you at least go into the movie knowing what you're getting into, don't go in thinking this is an action film. Don't go in thinking this is your summer blockbuster type of movie. If you can go in with the mindset that you're gonna sit down and you're gonna really have to tune yourself into this story, if you can do that in a movie theater, then I think you will enjoy this movie rather than going to the theaters expecting to have like this hype of entertainment thrown at your face. This is entertaining, but in a different way. The best way that I can describe Blade Runner 2049 is it is an art house film with the dressing of a mainstream film. Now that's deep. Andre, Black Nerd, giving a deep philosophical description of Blade Runner 2049. On one final thing, there was no babies in my theater this time. However, when I walked outside of my theater, there was another theater across the way that was also showing Blade Runner 2049, and I saw what happened to be like parents or grandparents taking pictures of their kids in front of the theater doors of Blade Runner 2049. Now, they could have just been standing in that one particular spot, but I couldn't help but feel like I was watching parents take pictures of their kids going to see or just seeing Blade Runner 2049. Is it a memory that you're trying to keep? Oh, my precious children, the first time they got to see on-screen R-rated boobies. Me and my kids are gonna have some philosophical discussions when we get home about how replicants should be treated in this universe. The family that blades together stays together. I'm sorry, subscribe if you want to. I love you like a Blade cousin. I'm out here 5,000 chain chom, y'all.